Call this meeting to order. This is the June meeting, the June 30th meeting of the Concord City Planning Board. We will call the meeting to order, and I will take a motion to open the meeting and go into public session. If someone would like to make that motion. Moved. Motion is made by David Fox, seconded by Jeff Santa Cruz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Nay? All right.
I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes.
Seal the minutes from the prior non-public session. Motion's been made to seal the minutes from the prior meeting, the non-public session meeting. Anybody like to second that motion?
Second.
Motion is seconded by David. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We'll do a roll call. If we could, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll.
Chairman Woodfin?
Here? Here and alone in the room. I'm going to do a couple times tonight, so I'll screw it up.
Flashbacks.
I'll do roll call votes too, so go ahead.
Councilor Pierce?
Here in a room full of people.
Member Hicks?
Here.
Member Smithmeyer? Here. Member Fox?
Here.
Member Santa Cruz?
Here.
Okay, we'll welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. We've got our first item on agenda is to approve the minutes from the prior meeting. I don't know if that volume is too loud or not, but it's certainly loud up here. The approval of the minutes, would someone like to make a motion to approve the May 19th minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Agenda overview, we have everything on our agenda tonight will be heard. We do have a fairly long agenda, so we'll hop right into it, but Josiah Bartlett has been postponed until July 21st. So if anyone's here for the Josiah Bartlett project, that has been postponed until the 21st of July. No other changes, Heather?
No.
Okay. Moves us right into item 5 on our agenda, which is a determination of completeness component. If we could read that into the record. Actually, we've got 5A and B. Can we do them together as one or separate?
Yeah,
okay.
you can. It's by consent, so you can just make
Okay.
a motion.
So we've got determination of completeness components, not a development of regional impact, set the public hearing for both items for July 21st. Would someone like to make a motion to find that application complete and set the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
made by Suzanne, seconded by Earl. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries, so that is set for our July meeting. We will move next to design review applications by consent. Anyone in the audience that's here for items 6A, 6B, 6C, 6D, 6E, and 6F. The board recognizes and has reviewed all of the packets of information that are with those items. We will vote on them by consent, which means we won't hear public testimony on any of those items. If you have a concern or question on any of those items, please make yourself known, and we'll pull them off the consent agenda item. If not, we will entertain a motion to approve items 6A through 6F with design review comments. If someone would like to make that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So look at that, chugging right along, right into our public hearing session. So we will recognize design review application 7A. If we could read that into the record.
Revision Energy, on behalf of New Hampshire distributors, requests Adr Approval for installation of solar panels on the roof of the structure at 1 Horseshoe Pond Lane in the Opportunity Corridor Performance District. I believe ADR was in favor of the application, and we set it for public hearing because it was a building permit in a performance district.
So the only reason it's here is because it's a building permit in a performance district,
Correct.
right?
I don't believe you can actually see the solar panels from almost anywhere. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? Jeff?
I just had one. My only concern was the orientation of the panels. Would they ever call any sort of sun glare for people on 393?
Okay, good question. We'll ask that. Any member of the audience have any questions? Come on up, Bill. Okay. Could we get, we'd have you sign in, Bill, to it. Any staff updates? I don't know if it's Sam, is it your project? There's nothing
Sure.
from the staff?
ADR really didn't have any comments. The angle of the panels is only 10 degrees, so I can't imagine.
10 degrees off of
flat?
flat?
Flat, yeah, so very shallow angle. There was a question in ADR about impact on airplanes coming to the airport. Our associate engineer, Martha Drucker, looked into that, and it does not trigger a glide and glare study.
Okay.
I would just say too that the section of building closest to 393 is actually about 2 feet higher than where the panels are going to be in the back, so I think the chance of that glare is pretty slim.
Okay, thank you.
If you could just state your name for the record, sir.
Sorry, Bill Hickey with the HL Turner Group on behalf of Revision Energy and New Hampshire Distributors.
Okay, great. So Jeff, okay with that question?
Yes,
Question?
thank you
Any
very
other
much.
questions of this applicant? And no member of the audience have any questions? It's great looking out to see people in the audience. Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve the application as submitted.
So move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. You're all set. Great job. That looks like an awesome project. I hope others follow suit and get some solar panels up there. All right, let's move on to item 7B on our agenda.
Rollins Studio requests ADR approval for the replacement of an internally illuminated freestanding sign panel and 2 internally illuminated wall signs at 89 Fort Eddy Road in the Gateway Performance District. We pulled this from consent because one of the 3 proposed signs had been previously installed, and that was part of our previous conversation agreement that we would let the board know if signs had been installed prior to approval.
Absolutely.
And Sam can give you an update on that.
Great. If we could, if the applicant's here, if you want to come up. If not, it's fine. Go ahead, Sam.
So at the ADR meeting, the committee reviewed the submissions, and their only comment was that the sign that had already been installed had a primarily black background, while the other ones were white. They wanted all the signs to match the black background, and the applicant was amenable to that and submitted revised drawings.
Okay, so in our packet, we show one on the front of the building with a all-black background. That's not going to be that way? Or are they all going to be black?
They're all going to be black.
All going to be black, okay. And I can see one from the exit off of 93 going to 393, but I don't see that in the pictures here, unless that's it, on the side of the building, sign C. There's not one on the back of the building, is there?
No.
So there's one on the side, one on the front, one on the
And one on the
pedestal.
freestanding, yep.
Okay. All right, any questions or comments regarding this sign application? Nope. Any member of the audience have any questions or comments? All right, we'll take a motion to approve that. What's that?
Close the public hearing.
I'll close the public hearing, thank you. And we will take a motion to approve the submission as ADR, with ADR recommendations on the color.
So move.
Poorly done, I apologize. So motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries, so that is approved. Let's move on to the site plan subdivision and conditional use permit applications on the agenda, which is item 8A. If we could read that into the record.
Sure. 8A is BL Companies Incorporated on behalf of CP Concord LLC, and they are simply requesting a 1-year extension of a conditional condominium subdivision approval for 310 Loudoun Road in the Gateway Commercial Performance District. So they had a previous approval that was conditional. They did not manage to get it recorded yet, and so they need an extension on that approval. Their deadline was at, I'll let Beth give the update.
There's not much more to tell.
There's not much more to tell.
Their deadline, it would have been after the June
Right.
14th, 16th, whatever meeting that we had to postpone. So they would have been on time with it, except our meeting got delayed, so we're a couple weeks behind. But so technically it's already expired, so you would be waiving that it be done within 1 year. But to allow, they just have some condo document, they're securing tenants, so they've had a hard time getting their condo declaration together, and that's one of the conditions of approval, so that's what they're working on.
Okay. So from a report perspective, do we need to make any recommendations or any changes that it has expired, or is that all in kind of implicit?
I think it's, yeah, if you just make the recommendation to extend it for 1 year.
So extension for 1 year. Would someone like to make a motion, a public hearing on this? Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address this application? Any member of the board have any questions or concerns regarding it? If not, we'll take a motion to
Close the public hearing.
We'll close the public hearings, thank you. You guys must have lost not doing that on Zoom to me.
It frustrated me.
Yeah, I bet it did, because
I got yelled at a
I
lot.
constantly didn't close the public hearing, so just tap yourself on that. The public hearing is closed, so if someone like to make a motion?
To grant the one-year extension of the conditional condominium subdivision approval.
Second.
Okay, good with that? Yep, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, that moves us on to 8B in the agenda, if we could read that into the record.
R.D. Bartlett and Associates, on behalf of Pam Sampadian Revocable Trust, requests minor subdivision approval for a lot line adjustment to annex approximately 4 acres from 308 South Street to 306 South Street in the single-family residential district. Staff does recommend the application be determined complete, not a development of regional impact, and to open the public hearing.
Okay, so we've got a determination of completeness component. Someone like to make a motion to find the application, complete, not a development of regional impact, and open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Public hearing is open. Welcome to the table, Mr. Bartlett. Welcome back. It's good to see your smiling face, or scowling face, as it may be, whatever it is under there.
I always have a hard time with this damn computer. What's the password?
It's right there on the little label, right on the keyboard. Those are zeros.
Oh, those are zeros?
They are.
Mark Bartlett, did I call him Mark Bartlett? I called him Mark Sargent when he walked in.
Yeah, you did.
I'm looking
That's
at the
right.
Bartlett.
Because I can see in the back. I'm just kidding.
I think part of that last time he was here in person too.
Mark
but-
Bartlett.
I haven't
There you
called,
go.
I know a Mark Bartlett.
I've been called Mr. Bartlett for the
How many-
past 20
how many
years, so
Yeah, 20 years probably, right?
I'm used to it.
Just change your name.
Yeah, I should.
We can still chastise you though and say we're waiting.
Ken.
Click in the bottom left.
Let's get a staff update if we could while we're waiting.
Sure. This lot line adjustment is fairly straightforward. There are 2 lots, very similar in size and shape. The house lot is basically being carved out, and the remaining of that lot is being consolidated with the adjacent lot to create a lot of just over 8 1/4 acres. The house lot meets all zoning standards.
Sam stole all my thunder, but it's fine. Well, good evening. Like I say, it's a great pleasure to be back in front of this board after a crappy year. But I'm here tonight. My name is Mark Sargent. I'm with the firm of Richard Bartlett and Associates. I'm here tonight representing the Sampadians. They're back in the audience with me. They own 2 parcels of property located on South Street, identified on tax map 84 as block 1, lots 8 and 9. Lot 8, which is the one further south, has a single-family home. It's known as 308 South Street. Total area of 4.85 acres and 181.86 feet of frontage. Lot 9, just adjacent to it, to the north, is a vacant parcel. Has a total area of 4.29 acres with 143.98 feet of frontage. Both parcels run from South Street all the way to the Turkey River. The proposal before the board this evening is for a lot line adjustment. The Sampadians are proposing reducing the size of Lot 8, so it will now have an area of 0.75 acres, and annexing 4.1 acres of Lot 8 to Lot 9, which would give a new lot area of Lot 9 of 8.34 acres. In reviewing the report, or engineering review, I saw that Gary called us on the Lot 8 has 2 driveways, and if we reduce the frontage, we would have to get a conditional use permit to allow that. The difference between what we're proposing and what exists out there today is only 1.12 feet, so we can still make the subdivision work by holding that original corner there, holding the original frontage, and we're able to revise the plan accordingly. So if you had any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, questions from the board? No? Any member of the audience wish to address this application? No? Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa, you missed it. I closed the public hearing.
Oh, I
All
got
by
it.
myself. Okay.
I got it.
All right. It's bold. It is bold.
Bold.
Okay, so before us in our packet here, we've got 3.1 is to grant the minor subdivision approval for the lot line adjustment at 306, 308 South Street, subject to the following conditions, outlined in conditions 1 through 8. Would someone like to make a motion to grant that minor subdivision approval as outlined?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Mention of a conditional use permit, that was just, that no issues with that, so we're good with that. So that project is all set. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And welcome back. All right, let's move on to item 8C in our agenda, if we could.
Ellen and Major Associates, on behalf of Marcus and Catherine A. Weeks and Elizabeth Fuentes, request minor subdivision approval for a lot line adjustment between 24 and 26 Brookwood Drive in the medium-density residential district. Staff does recommend the application be determined complete, not a development of regional impact, and to open the public hearing.
Okay, so we've got a determination of completeness component. It is not a development of regional impact. Someone like to make a motion to find the application complete and open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Public hearing is open. Welcome to the table. If you could state your name for the record.
Sure, my name's Jim Smith from Allen Major and Associates. I'm the land surveyor doing the project. What we have here, we found...
Hang on just a second, Jim. Could we get a quick staff update from you on this?
Sure. This lot line adjustment is fairly straightforward. Its purpose appears to be to bring lots into conformity with setbacks. It looks like a pool was constructed partially over a lot line, and this is to correct that. The exchange of property area is exactly the same, so the overall size of the lots do not change.
Okay.
And one of the concerns that came in late this afternoon was from New Hampshire DES Archives. They did find the septic plan on the Fuentes lot, and we are outside the well radius for the...
Excellent.
Great. They want to move the pool, huh?
It's a good, I guess that's a good thing. So moving one, moving the other.
Sign in.
What's that? Yes, we could definitely sign in, Jim, if you could.
Sure.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Any member of the board have any questions or concerns regarding this? Any member of the audience have any questions or concerns regarding this application? No? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to, whoops, hold on a second. Let me read my to-do list here. So we'll take the waivers separate. We'll close the public hearing. Thank you. I'm gonna
Put that on a
forget.
stick.
Honest to God, just bang the gavel or something. So we will,
Mute. Yeah.
we will close
Yardstick.
we will close the public hearing, and would someone like to make a motion to grant the waivers from section 12.083 existing topography and 12.0823C tabulations? Would someone like to make a motion to grant those waivers as outlined?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. And 4.2 is to grant the minor subdivision approval for the lot line adjustment of 24 and 26 Brookwood Drive, subject to the following conditions to be fulfilled within 1 year, which is conditions 1 through 7. Would someone like to make a motion to grant that minor subdivision approval?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So you are all set. Thank you very much.
for your time.
Appreciate your time. And moving right along, we will move on to item 8D in our agenda.
Fieldstone Land Consultants, on behalf of Mark F. and Christine D. Bogash and Big Step LLC, requests minor subdivision approval for a lot line adjustment to annex 10.28 acres from 103 Old Loudoun Road to 3-7 Breakaday Drive in the medium density and gateway performance districts. Staff does recommend the application be determined complete, not a development of regional impact, and to open the public hearing.
Okay, so we have a determination of completeness component. It is not a development of regional impact. Someone like to make a motion to find the application complete and open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We will open the public hearing, and welcome to the table. If you could state your name for the record.
My name is Mike Pluff from Fieldstone Land Consultants. I'm a land surveyor.
Great. We'll look for a quick staff update if we could.
Sure. So this is an annexation. All lots comply with zoning setbacks. At this time, there is no development proposed. However, this is setting us up for a development in the future.
All right, must be lot line adjustment month, huh? Okay, welcome to the meeting. If you could, like I said, you stated your name already. I'm out of sorts here with my in-person meeting. So if you've got anything you'd like to add to this, if you could tell us a little bit about the project.
Sure. I'm here tonight to represent a lot line adjustment and consolidation plan for tax map lots 46Z-33 owned by Mark and Christine Bogatz, and lots 46Z-36 and 37 owned by the John Flatley Company. The purpose of this application is to revise the common line between lots 46Z-33 and 46Z-36 by subtracting parcel A from lot 33 and adding parcel A to lot 36. Then consolidate lot 37 with the revised lot 36. The original area of lot 33 was 12.99 acres. The final will be 2.71. The original area of lot 36 was 12.87 acres. The final will be 23.5, and that's with the consolidation of lot 37. Zoning for the site is both medium density residential and gateway performance. With that, we've gone through the technical review comments. We certainly agree with them all. We can make those changes. The only item that I had was, I believe in the engineering review, there was possibly a request for a waiver. I have written a waiver with regards to that, and I can either read that into the record or submit it to the board now.
What's the waiver for?
It's for existing water courses. I believe generally if a water course runs straight through a site, the board usually, or the regulations state that there needs to be an easement with it, but being that there's no development at this time, the engineering recommended a waiver for it.
Engineering?
Yeah, so this was similar to the subdivision I believe we had over off of, it was the hatch one was at 233 Hopkinton Road, I believe, last fall. In this case, there's a first order stream passing through the property. There is no city drainage system in there, nor do we expect there ever will be, so we would support a waiver of that consistent with what we've done in the past.
Okay. Procedural wise, Lisa, you want to read them in the record, or read it into the record, or
Yes,
do you want to
please.
just submit it? Okay, if you could read the waiver into the record.
Sure. Dear Planning Board members, as agents for the John J. Flatley Company and Mark and Christine Bogatz, Fieldstone Land Consultants, PLLC, hereby request the following waiver from the City of Concord Subdivision Regulations regarding the above referenced lot line adjustment and consolidation plan. Section 23.11, existing watercourses, where a subdivision is traversed by a watercourse, drainage way, channel, or stream, there shall be provided a stormwater easement or drainage right-of-way conforming substantially to the lines of such watercourse, together with vegetated or landscape buffer, and of such width and construction, or both, as will be adequate for the purpose. This proposed lot line adjustment and consolidation plan is minor in nature. No new construction is planned at this time. There is no city drainage system involved with these properties, as stated in the staff report. We therefore respectfully request that the board grant a waiver to section 23.11 requiring an easement and right-of-way for a watercourse.
Okay, so we'll recognize that when we get to it regarding the waiver that you read into the record for 23.11. So we won't get into all the details, but, okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Jeff?
I just have one question. Unless my math is wrong, your existing proposed lots don't seem to equal the same total size.
Dun, dun, dun. So you're looking at lot 33, 36, and
By
then,
adding them up, it's.
so
I
12.9
get like
acres.
25.86, and then when you put the proposed, it comes out to over
26.2.
22.
You also have to add, we also consolidated lot 46Z37 on sheet 2. That's 0.36 acres.
How much is it?
.36.
The little triangle.
Okay. Hey, that wasn't in the description at the, on the front piece, so that's the area I was missing. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
No.
Any member of the audience have any questions or concerns regarding this application? No? We'll close the public hearing. I'm getting it, Lisa, I'm getting it. So we'll close the public hearing, and we will look to the board, see if we'd like to get a motion to grant the waiver that Mr. Smith read into the record for 23.11 for existing water courses. Someone like to make a motion to grant that waiver as outlined?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion was made and seconded by David. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay? No? None? So it's a unanimous vote. I didn't vote nay, sorry. Yes.
So usually when we write our reports, we write the motions to acknowledge the sections of the RSAs that authorize the ability of the
Yep.
board to grant the waiver. And we
Yep.
also cite the reason that the waiver is justified. So I
Yep.
would just suggest that you amend your motions to state that because of the lack of development would be the board's justification for granting the waiver, and subject to the RSA section that allows, subject to the, what is it, the conditions of the,
Water course drainage and stream.
no, I'm talking about the RSA section that states based on, that it wouldn't,
Spirit and intent of the regulations.
exactly, is in, that granting the waiver is in the spirit and intent of the regulations.
Great.
Okay,
I made the motion, so I will
Okay, great.
make that change.
Just to add it to the record.
so motion's been changed. Second's okay, David?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So that motion carries. And then in your packet, we've got 3.1 to grant minor subdivision approval for the lot line adjustment at 103 Old Loudoun Road, subject to the following conditions, which are outlined in conditions 1 through 8. Would someone like to make a motion to grant that minor subdivision as outlined?
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Did I get a second? Yes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. You're all set. Thank you very much.
Who was the second? David?
David, yep.
Thanks.
Moves us to 8E on the agenda, if we could read that into the record. Nope, that was Josiah Bartlett, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that the applicant requests to postpone to July 21st.
Applicant requested to postpone, so that is not on our agenda, so we'll move on to 8F. Novus Group, can we read that into the record?
Novus Group, on behalf of Brixmore Capital, requests major site plan approval for construction of 3 new buildings for restaurant, retail, and coffee shop use with a drive-through facility at 80 Store Street and the Opportune Corridor Performance District. Staff, this has been previously determined complete. I don't know if you want any sort of staff update.
Yeah, we'll take a staff update if you want to give it out.
I would defer to Sam on that.
Sure. Happy to. Well, it's good to see you all in person.
Great to see you guys.
It's great to see you in person.
Amazing. First time.
Back at it.
Amazing.
If you guys could, well, Sam's giving us an update. If you guys could just sign in on the sheet there, that would be great.
So, we have them in person, which is fantastic, but they have been before us several times. I know the board is rather familiar with this project. It has gone through many iterations over a year. And I do commend Brixmore and Novus on working with us and ADR in good faith and just really working on this project. As we have discussed in previous meetings, there are a number of outstanding issues that keep coming up, one of which is the lack of a Store Street entrance for the 110 Grill. This is something that we have requested and we have outlined in many master plans. It's quite clear. We are really looking for an urban form on this corridor, and this sets the wrong precedent. More of a suburban design in combination with the drive-through. It perpetuates a design that is not what we are seeking based on our master plan vision. Something that was mentioned, I believe it was the last planning board meeting, could have been the one before, that the middle building is subject to finding a tenant, and that may not be built at the same time as the other buildings. This presents an issue with phasing. we do have a site plan regulation that phasing plans be submitted. And this did come up late in the conversations. This wasn't clear to staff immediately. So we will happily work with the applicant to get a phasing plan in that we may have to come back and approve at this board. But that is something I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. And I'll leave it there because we can get into this a lot further.
Great. Okay. Welcome to the table, guys. And again, great to see everybody in person. Chris, you haven't changed, so I've never met the other guys, but you haven't changed. Just a year older, that's right. If you guys could state your names for the record.
Yeah, Chris Netto with Nobis Group, and I can't get into the computer, so somebody's gonna have to help me.
Okay.
There's a password
I tried
that's
it
on.
3
Oh,
times.
okay.
Those are zeros.
locked out now.
Those are zeros.
We'll have to go home.
I tried zeros.
Don't say that. Yeah,
Chris
Jesus,
gets the
don't say
technical
that.
difficulties.
No guarantees, folks.
It's really a pleasure to see everybody in person. Ruben Torski representing Brixmore.
And Sean Lau with Create Architecture.
Okay, well, we'll hold on tight here and we'll let you guys, uh-oh.
I did get a good tour of Concord last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we are very sorry about that. I know you guys came from a distance, and it doesn't happen often, but I think it was a perfect storm of people all of a sudden not being around, so my apologies. I don't know, that's not them, is it?
No, that was,
Oh, it was Mark. Mark Bartlett.
Yeah.
Good old Mark.
Yeah, good old Mark.
He's a savage.
I'm just watching the screen. I'm not looking at it.
All right. Well, I can start off by just going over some of the site plan changes that we made since the last meeting that we had last month. Doesn't show up. Oh, that's the demolition plan, sorry. So one of the comments from the board was regarding the confusion at the drive-through and that we had 2 lanes merging into one. So we've changed the drive-through to a double drive-through with 2 order boards. So people can stack up in either lane. They can order from separate menu boards, and then they can merge into a common line to pick up their.
Hey, can I just ask, where, on our packet, Lisa, where is this?
probably under plans.
Yeah, I'm under plans, but is this 12 pages of plans?
6.
It's page 6.
Sorry.
Sorry. 5,
Where did you put it, Lisa?
6.
I know, where should I put it?
Okay, I'm good. Well, go ahead, Chris, sorry.
All right, no problem. One of the other comments was the amount of, or the number of accessible spaces that we had in the plaza. We were actually reducing to try and get more parking spaces. So we've added back in an additional 7 accessible spaces, 4 in front of Market Basket, 2 on the main plaza, and then 1 over near Marshall. So we have a total of 25 now. One of the other comments was related to this drop-off area at the main driveway. We were sort of thinking it would be a dual purpose of a loading area and people dropping off people to go into the either of the 3 buildings here. I think it was suggested by the board that wasn't a really good idea. There's a lot of traffic confusion going on there. So this will be just limited to a loading area. It won't be for drop-off. It'll be striped and signed to that effect. We do still have a crosswalk going through here, and you know, now that I look at it, we may want to consider just shifting that over further to the east so there's no conflict if there is ever a truck in the loading area and people want to cross through.
Chris, there's a pointer there too.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Left is on.
There we go. Okay, so, and I'm not going to point at your head, Gary.
Are you flying planes tonight?
So just talking about that crosswalk, we potentially could shift it a little further east, so we avoid any conflicts if there are trucks in the loading area, so people aren't crossing in front of trucks. We did sort of flip-flop the landscape islands from, they were previously up closer to the buildings. Now they're closer to the plaza to sort of separate the two, because this is the main drive-through or drive area for the entire plaza, so we wanted to kind of separate traffic from this parking area and the main drag in front of the plaza. And then I think, you know, one of the biggest comments was related to landscaping, and I'm going to flip to the landscape plan for that. Might take a second. There we go, not too bad. So we did add a number more street trees and shade trees throughout the parking lot. And, you know, we were talking about maybe a grass strip along Storrs Street and then having the sidewalk inboard of that grass strips. But our thought was we wanted to keep it similar to across the street, which is really concrete right up to the curb line, and then put the trees on the back side so that they'd have more ability to survive. So we've added this row of street trees here. We've added shade trees up both sides of the driveway coming in. Same thing along the barrier between the two parking lots over here. And those are really the major changes that we made to the site plan. I can answer questions, or we can go to the architecture if you'd like.
Questions on the plan? Let's hop to the architecture. Go ahead.
No, that's.
Let's hop to the architecture. Hold your question. We'll hop to the architecture and come back.
I'm not sure if it would be elevations or 110 grill architectural
I think
examples.
elevations, yeah, those are the ones we sent us,
Elevations?
yeah. The 110 grill were examples of other
Okay. yeah, you're
locations
right. Sorry.
that they were suggesting.
All right, so Ruben, I'll let you.
Yeah, I think we've seen some of the major changes. I think in the last last meeting, you just can scroll through quickly, and Sean can answer really any technical questions, but I'll kind of go over the overview. So we obviously, we added the spandrel glass to the 110 grill elevation. That was part of the last submission. That stays consistent. I know there's still some concerns about the 110 grill materials, which we can talk about a little bit later. And the other major real changes were to the middle building, which I know the ADR approved and was favorable to that. And that was mostly on the elevations between the buildings to give it more scale and some more brick rather than the limestone look. I don't know if you just want to like scroll through it, but yeah, skip through the 110 for now because that hasn't changed, and we can talk about that, as I know that will be a big discussion point tonight.
Sorry, it's just going a little slow here.
It's new.
There you go. Yeah, so again, the potential Starbucks coffee did not change as well from the last submission. There's still one more comment, not on this elevation, but on the elevation facing the parking lot to move the sign a little bit, which we're going to be compliant with as recommendation from the ADR. That one, yep. So it's this elevation, yeah, so this is now centered. The ADR suggested moving it to the right corner, so we'll be in compliance with that, and we think that's a good idea as well. And then, yeah, so this elevation,
Bless.
nope, keep going one more page up, sorry. Back up.
Oh, back up.
Yeah, so this elevation, which faces 110 grill, originally was a blend of some wood material and additional stone. So we actually brought the brick to be consistent, which the ADR liked, and also matches the other side facing the coffee Starbucks building. And then the other two elevations, there were no real major changes. Right, Sean, anything else? Great. So with that, questions, discussion, anything else from us?
Jeff?
I just had a question on the on your utility plan. I see that because you separated the two ramps on Store Street on the corner. The ADA ramps right at the corner.
Yep.
The ones crossing the
At
driveway.
at the signalized intersection?
Correct.
Yeah.
Now that you've moved the second ramp further away, it no longer currently meets MUTCD ADA standards, so you'll have to install or a second post push button and
Okay.
whatnot to be compliant. And I know, I think that's been mentioned a couple times to staff, so I don't know if that comment finally trickled down to you or not.
I haven't seen that, but
As
yeah,
well as,
understood.
since this is part of the kind of this whole area being redeveloped, the opposite corner, which would be the northeast corner, currently that ramp does not meet standard. So since you're redeveloping and redoing the entrance, that should be brought into compliance with a ramp and the correct grades and everything.
Okay.
And it may require a little adjustment of the crosswalk to align properly once you're done.
Okay, questions? Suzanne?
Well, I just had a comment. I did notice that the landscape architect specified 2 invasive species that are not allowed to be sold in New Hampshire.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Now you did it.
Which I've, in all my years, I've never seen before. So they obviously didn't get the MO, but this has been, I think, 12 years, 15 years? It's been
What are the 2 species? do you know?
Japanese barberry and Crimson King maple, which is a Norway maple.
Okay. Got it.
Can't sneak them across the border either.
Can't, yeah.
Contraband.
Yeah, I guess you can. And I don't know, there's no like planting details or anything like that, but I think that there are some other issues that I think are more important, but I had to point that out because I just thought that was
Okay.
not good.
Okay. Comments, questions, concerns?
I just,
Sure.
just overall designs, you know, as I've been looking at this, and we'll assume it's a 110 grill. As I travel around the state, I visited a few. I like them. But I also know there's more of an urban design model out there. Is that something that was considered here in the design of this one?
So I'll tell you, and thank you for bringing up the 110. So this is their new prototype that we received from the tenant that we've been working with. I know obviously there's been discussion and concerns about the door, which I think we came up with a really good compromise to meet some of those goals. Honestly, at the last ADR was really the first time that the materials became an issue. We really didn't hear that prior to that. So it's been a little bit of this bounce that I think the chairman brought up in the last planning board member meeting, sorry. So we heard them, and I think the way we designed the middle building and the Starbucks building really complements the rest of the center and the city of Concord. We've been talking to the tenant about, like you just said, bringing more of that brick and urban feel, and I think they're receptive. I just didn't want to bring anything to that today without the ADR looking. So what I'm hoping to achieve tonight, if this board feels favorable that the site plan, we met everything else, is get a conditional approval to continue to work with the ADR on the 110, material selections, and to make it more of that urban brick feel with some of the other examples. So.
Follow up?
Yeah.
I'm less concerned with the materials than the glass that's in the door that isn't facing west. If I can say it that way.
Please.
Because with an urban design, the door is on the street. So that's really what I'm after, is a different design of the rest, to have a viable entrance on Store Street.
So unfortunately not, as I think Sam and Heather, and I think we've repeated this, we've gone back to the tenant and urged them to have that, and for them it's a non-starter, unfortunately. The way they design their building and the way their operations are, they feel the door on the parking lot side, with the compromise of flipping the patio is usually on the other side, as well as the entrance halfway, midway block, really meet those goals. and to start flipping the operations doesn't meet their goals, and it wouldn't be a successful restaurant if they did that. So that's what they're telling me.
All right, thank you.
That's a question.
Matt.
So we have in our packet, we have several examples of 110 grills that are they're all on the street.
You
So
didn't, you didn't provide those, right? Those were
No,
some,
those
I think came from ADR, right? Okay, just for
So-
the record.
maybe it's frustrating for you, but it's frustrating for us to hear this because this is what we want for this corridor, is to have street-facing entrances and consistent with many other structures on Store Street. And
I
we
mean,
have many examples that 110 Grill has doors facing the street.
Again, I looked through, not driving those locations, knowing the surrounding area, not knowing. There are a few that I did bring up to them. I'm not sure how those were laid out, when they were built. I just know what they proposed for this site. I still think it's a great look. I think people will still be driving to the center and utilizing that door on the parking lot side. And the patio there midway across, and the activation of the different streetscape that we've created creates that blend. So yeah, I hate to throw the tenant, I think we're all equally frustrated, but I think it's the best foot forward. So
Suzanne?
So was your client aware of the master plans that have been done for the city of Concord?
yes.
And so did he ever think that it doesn't really meet with the vision that the community of Concord has? And I guess the frustration that I sense is this is probably the most important first step towards meeting that vision. And if it's compromised, the vision will never be met. And so I'm
Yeah.
kind of shocked. It's kind of like you go into it knowing that it's important for the planning board to consider that in the deliberation, and yet your client said, yeah, too bad, I'm not gonna do that.
I don't think it's too bad. I think we looked at the master plan. I think the master plan also has bigger grandiose plans for the center, which is currently a retail center and one story, right? And the master plan calls for a mixed-use project here that I think in my career at Brickstore will never happen. We have long-term tenants with national tenants that unless the city is gonna go through eminent domain and start offering incentives, that's gonna be very challenged to meet that master plan. I think the plan that we've come up with to date creates a real balance of what that master plan was gonna do. I spent probably the last 3 hours driving up and down Store Street and seeing those entrances. And yes, you still have a couple of smaller stores that have those entrances, right? You got Cheers with a retaining wall that has a side entrance on the street. You have a parking garage with no entrances. All you have is gates and an unaesthetic building. You have a new building right next to the parking garage that's set back on a pocket park that was not dictated to have a front door. Their door is still on the side street. So I'm a little bit torn by, I think we really created as an applicant a great balance of what we're trying to achieve here.
But all those buildings existed pretty much as the master plan was put together.
Understood.
So I think that the people in the community and the professionals were trying to, make it better. And I just think that it's unfortunate that the needs of your client, they feel that, that it's more important that they have what they want. Maybe this isn't the best spot for them, because I do feel that it'll be a very slippery slope for the city. And I feel like it's, my responsibility being on the planning board, listening to what the community has agreed would be the best vision for Concord. So.
I mean, I've sat around town, actually spoke to people. People are excited about the project. I don't see anybody out here in opposition.
Well, we don't know yet.
I mean,
We don't know yet.
Nobody's
We don't know who's in the audience that may be opposed
There
or.
could be, but
Yeah,
I just look back and.
You don't see anybody out with a sign in front of them?
Correct, saying,
Okay, I gotcha.
stop Walmart, stop 110
I
Grill.
gotcha,
And,
okay.
we've been now in front of the planning board
Yep.
3 times, so I hear that there was visioning and there was master plans and things were done. But those were bigger, grandiose plans that, again, I think were very hard to accomplish, and I think the plan that we came up with a great team, meets those goals. And again, it's a master plan. The current zoning does not dictate that front door. So I think we meet the regulations of the zoning, and we're ready to build this.
But didn't you, I saw a concept that was presented to city council that went to zoning that had a front door on the street, which is not, that was the draft concept. This is.
Yeah, so there was a draft at one point that showed somewhat of an entrance and people congregating. I think there was always a door on the other side in those elevations. I hear it, but I don't think it was anything to be duped. I think it was the way it was happened. So again, when those were sent around, those are strictly to get the drive-through, which was very unrelated to the 110 grill that was in front of council. So again, if it did show something that we thought you were getting and it didn't, it wasn't anything to be duping and trying to get. It was strictly for the drive-through and not 110 grill. So.
Okay, other questions from the board? Let's open it up to the audience and see if we've got anybody in the audience that wishes to address this application. Oh, yep, come on up. I'll have you guys step back if you could. Hi, welcome to the table. If you could state your name for the record.
I'm Craig Tufts.
Pull that around a little bit more towards you. That's good.
Is that good?
Yep, that's good. Thank you.
I'm Craig Tufts. I'm a resident of Concord. So I just wanted to come and let you know my thoughts. I've been following this project since it first came around because it's important. I think this site, this location, is one of the most important development locations in the entire city. And so I just wanted to express that I'm not supportive of what this project looks like right now. I think it's really underwhelming. I've been reading the minutes, and I really agree with ADR's take on the whole thing. So, like you guys were saying, it's not consistent with the master plan. We have the master plan and dozens of other plans, like the 2020 plans, the Concord plans, like there's dozens of them. And they all spell out what we want to see and have images and graphics, and this isn't it. This is a disappointment, to me, for this location. Like you guys said, it's suburban. If this was infill going out in the mall, out at the parking out at the mall, that'd be great. It'd be a nice incremental improvement, but it just doesn't meet the standards of this location. So being more specific, you guys are talking about the grill and the way that it faces the street. When my family, when we walk around, that's what we're looking for. I'm imagining, crossing Pleasant Street up in Maine and you're looking down the hill, you want to see the entrance of a grill with activity. That's what's going to draw you down. That's what's going to feel good. And that's what the master plan's talking about. And, having like a wall where the kitchen is, it's just not right to me. One-story buildings, that's really, property this valuable right in the downtown, we shouldn't be having one-story buildings. I think there was something about a 24-foot limit. Aren't there 24-foot two-story buildings on Main Street? I don't know for sure, but that sounds like an excuse. I'd really like to see, more substantial development. The drive-through, I kind of disagree with the council's decision to approve that, but, I could see their thinking that, if we have a really great project and all it needs is a drive-through to push it through, maybe that would make sense. But, this isn't worth it. This really isn't that great of a project. And then, the last thing, this goes in, it's going to prevent something awesome from going in. It's going to prevent, these visions that we've been talking about for years and years from going in. It's going to make it that much harder to do. And, that building that's in the middle, I'm not sure what that's going to be, but what incentive do they have, and what leverage do you guys have for that building in the middle to be awesome if on the one side you have like the back of the grill and on the other side you have a drive-through? What is that going to look like? Never mind like all the other things that you could be doing with this site. So, in summary, I hate being all doom and gloom. It's not my style. I'm not that type of person. But, I'm not anti-development, but, this is a spot where we really got to do it right. It's this huge parking lot right next to downtown with so much potential. All of these plans have shown it. When I walk around town and I bring friends and family to town, they love our downtown and they want to see more cool stuff, and I think it would just be a real loss to, like, oh, look, what construction is going on down there? Like, oh, it's a one-story drive-through and in a grill. It's a disappointment. I'd really rather wait 10 years and see something really nice come in, for example. We're all excited when a new restaurant comes into town, and this is better than a parking lot, but I don't think it's worth it. I've been thinking a lot about this, and this is one spot in the city where we really got to do it right. So, I think, a lot of people might not be out in opposition to it because right now it's kind of an awful parking lot, but, there's a vision to do something really cool. And I guess I keep repeating myself over and over and over again, but that's all I've got to say unless anybody has a question.
Great. Any questions? No? Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other member of the audience wish to address this application?
Did he sign in?
Yes. Do you guys have any follow-up comments or questions or concerns before we close the public hearing? Or any other questions for the applicant from the board? No?
I missed the gentleman's name to you.
State your name again, sir.
Craig Tufts?
And you're resident in Concord?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so no other questions or comments? We'll close the.
Sorry.
Yep.
Again, I think we've been here. We've been meeting with staff as recognized. We've met now with the ADR on 3 occasions. This is our 3rd time in front of the planning board. We're a long-standing owner in this town. Our chairman and CEO's slogan is "The community is yours," and we're here to develop something great for this community. I know the master plan calls for something a lot bigger and multi-story. It's not something we do in an existing framework of a shopping center, unfortunately. And I think we met some great compromises. I do agree there's probably some work to be done on the 110 grill elevations and materials, absent of the door location. And I hope the board finds this favorable, and we're excited to get started on the project. So, and I think we meet all the regulations of the zoning and current zoning and regulations. So we're eager. So thank you for the time.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Earl?
I do have a question. As in reviewing all this, do you remember one of the concessions I believe we made or zoning made was one of the concessions we made on putting a drive-through down there was predicated on having these buildings face Store Street. Do you remember that? No?
I don't believe that was a condition of the rezoning to allow drive-through. So I know one of the contemplations of the drive-through was to have internal stacking and circulation and not coming out on the street, which I think we achieved in the design and really buffered it well. And now with the double window that I know was passed by this board to allow for that really meets and is a great improvement to the overall circulation and stacking.
Does staff remember those conversations?
Yeah, I can follow up with that, actually. So you may be recalling that there was a requirement as part of the zoning amendment that the drive-through building have a door facing on Store Street. It did not occur to us, unfortunately, at the time that we should require as part of the development, for instance, we could have said something like any development that includes a drive-through, for any development that includes a drive-through, every structure must have a street-facing entrance. We didn't add that in because it didn't occur to us at the time that.
We had a picture with the building that had a
Yeah,
door,
it didn't
right?
occur to us at the time that would be something that we should be concerned about, or that in many documents, it's just taken for granted that the door is going to be there, so it's not addressed often. So that was pertaining to the drive-through, and I believe that's one of the reasons that we're not having this conversation about the drive-through, because the zoning does require that to be a door with no traffic lane between the door and the public sidewalk.
Thank you for the clarification.
David?
Just make a point of from the design side of it. We spent the weekend, this past weekend in Portsmouth, at the Hilton, and right down the street, there's a 110 Grill. I noted that it's a corner building. In other words, it has two sides facing two different streets. The front door in that downtown location faces the main street. In other words, I don't recall that there's a door on that side street that leads away from the main street. So you've put the door on the largest street that.
With the parking.
Yeah, and you can turn right and you can go around the grill, but I don't think there's a door on the side. The door is facing that main street. I can't remember the name of the street, but it's the street that the Hilton is on. So I'm just bringing that up, and in that you've responded positively, or in that design, to placing the door in the location that we would like to see it placed.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that example and some of the other ones I saw, the door location is in that example is where the parking is, right? And that's where the customers are coming, because they're still driving and they're still parking and they're coming in that proximity. Or fortunately, we have parking interior to our shopping center, and that's where they see the best operational effort of people still driving there and coming in, and if people, like the person who spoke before, Mr. Tufts, if he's walking with his family, you know, it's just a short distance either to walk through the patio or just a little bit further. So I think
I also might add that locating the door on Store Street, people that, if you've ever been in the parking garage, for instance, at 5 o'clock when downtown sort of comes alive and you've got O's on the backside of it anyway, that restaurant, but that if you exit the parking garage onto Store Street, you're looking at the side of that kitchen wall.
You're looking at, yeah. I mean, perfect example, we were able to have a quick appetizer before the meeting at the restaurant and Hotel Concord, right? That entrance is on the side, not on Main Street.
That's O's.
That's O's.
Yeah.
Right.
They do have a door on.
There
Main
is a
Street,
door
yeah.
there.
Mhm.
It's just,
As part of
you
the
have to
hotel,
kind
but
of.
there is a door.
It's part of the hotel, yeah, you have to walk to that door and then
Right.
through.
Right.
So, but I know the main entrance is on the side there, so.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Any more? Okay, thank you very much.
Chairman, members of the board.
We will close the public hearing. Look for any updates or comments from staff, concerns, questions. Heather?
I mean, is there more discussion that the board wants to have, or what would you like from us?
I'd like kind of a follow-up on where we are and what we should be considering.
Can you be more specific? I'm not sure
I'm
what.
happy to make a comment.
Yeah.
Before any motions or anything. You know, when this project first came around in August of 2020, I had a little bit of trouble voting for it because, as we all know, planning has to be consistent and zoning has to be consistent with our master plan. And we want to make sure any site plan regulation follows that. That's our obligation to do such a thing. But I like the idea. It wasn't perfect. We did want two-story, but we understand from the owners of the shopping center that was a problem, and we saw this as a good anchor. And I was excited about it and voted for it. And likewise, when it went to the city council, I voted for it. To continue with it, and I'm happy to see that the folks have been easy to work with, and staff has put a lot of time into this. I'm still disturbed that we're not, under this current design, we won't have the neighborhood that we envisioned through the master plan, and I would leave it like that. I'm very frustrated that the design isn't such that's consistent with what we thought it was the first time.
I can summarize staff's position you all got our report, but basically what we've said in the report is, you know, we feel that we put the effort in to come to an acceptable agreement with the applicant, or come up with a design that was consistent with the intent of the visions in the master plan and the intents of our ordinances and our regulations. And we felt in the end of the day that that just did not occur. We are not recommending architectural design review approval. That's what we are not recommending. And they need architectural design review approval to get planning board approval. So I also sent you out all a memo noting that if you choose to deny architectural design review approval, what the course of action would be if you would choose to do that. So, you know, the zoning ordinance refers to our master plan. Our master plan refers to, well, the zoning ordinance actually incorporates the master plan into our zoning ordinance. There's a section of the ordinance that says this ordinance implements the master plan. So it's literally in the zoning ordinance that the master plan is implemented through it. And then the architectural design review criteria for the zoning ordinances specifically requires the board to refer to the master plan. So part of the criteria for the determination of whether or not to grant architectural design review approval is whether it's consistent with the master plan. Our master plan incorporates and implements and has active relationship with 3 other master plans, all of which have very specific criteria about how Store Street should develop, and specific language about the location of the doors and the frontages and the entrances to the buildings. So there's a very direct link between our the design of the buildings that are coming into Store Street and the recommendations from our master plan, the criteria of the design review as stated in our ordinance, and our site plan regulations. The site plan regulations, I think I have it open on my computer here, section 3301 of our site plan regulations. Part of the criteria is that there's harmony and compatibility with existing architectural character of the site, district, or location proposed. And as they stated, there's buildings that have the frontages on Store Street. Many of the buildings have frontages and entrances on Store Street. That's what we want to continue. That's the character of the neighborhood. I would actually expand the definition of the location to include downtown, since all of our master plans refer, and our Opportunity Corridor Master Plan, the Vision 2020 plan, refer to Store Street as an extension of Main Street. So if you look at Main Street as the location, which I think it is, because it's all in every of our master plans, they're all together as a piece, Store Street and Main Street. It's certainly not consistent with the location of Main Street, with having all the entrances for all the buildings on facing and fronting on the street and activating the street. So I think there's a very clear link. If the board is not in favor of this application and agrees, or also has the conclusion that it's not consistent with the location as per the site plan regulations, with the master plan as per the zoning ordinance, and as per all 3 of the master plans that refer to Store Street as being an extension of Main Street with frontages and doorways facing on the street. That's staff's position.
Okay. Suzanne?
Well, is it Mr. Tufts?
Yes.
Yes, the gentleman spoke, yeah.
There are people in Concord that really do care. And they don't often take the time to come out to planning board meetings. So I appreciate it. And I think that a lot of residents of Concord were aware of the master plans that we've gone through, and they trust that we will be following the master plan. And so I was very heartened to hear someone from the community take the time to come before us to kind of remind us how important it is to the community, because we've made such great strides. And this is just the beginning, and it could be the beginning of the end if we don't really seek to look towards the vision, you know. And the vision might not be realized in 5 years, and it might take 10 years, and maybe I won't be able to benefit from most of it, but I know that the things I do today are for the kids of tomorrow in the community. So, you know, I'm so thankful that you came to speak to the board today, so thank you.
If I may add, as a city councilor, trust me, I heard from those that follow the master plan and their disappointment in my vote to go forward with the project.
Oh, good.
Okay, other questions, comments, concerns from the board? David?
One of the things that I think that we need to consider in terms of what Heather just said was that if we allow the 110 grill to go forward with the front door issue, in other words, if we do not enforce that front door master plan concept that's tied to all the other things that we seem to be trying to do down there, the middle building still does not, we don't know what that's going to be. I mean, we have a picture of what the concept looks like, but ultimately, if the 110 grill the front door issue is not resolved so that there is an entrance on Store Street, then the middle building has, you've set a precedent. Middle building then can say, well, the 110 grill didn't have to have a front door. Right. There's no reason why I can be forced to have a front door, because we don't really know what's going to be there. Yeah, I mean, we have an idea of what their concept is of what's going to be there, and it looks nice. And I'm not supportive of this project in its overall context.
So let me ask a question while you're right in the middle of that, and hold on to that question. You just mentioned it. If they mentioned that 110 grill's a non-starter for them to move the entrances, and I think it's important and incumbent on us to look at this pad and the building, and with irregardless of who's going to be the person in it today, tomorrow, a year from now, 30, 40 years from now, when the building is still in use. So from a conceptual standpoint, I'm not hearing a lot of overwhelming support from the board. What if you looked at the plan and said, okay, turn the building so the main entrance is on Store Street, recognize the fact that they're going to have a building in the middle that still needs to be done, and the building that's on the end. Is the plan palatable from the board's perspective? I just want to give some feedback to the applicant. Is the plan palatable in that capacity if we met the requirement to have the front entrances on Store Street?
Yes.
The look and feel, for me, the look and feel is not really what we want in the master plan, but it's a step in the right direction. It's the 24 feet. It's a story and a half if it was. Did you? Yes. Yep.
I kind of just wanted to jump in for a second, because there's a number of issues I haven't brought up because I don't know that they're relevant at this juncture. But a few things that the applicant said just sort of are ringing in my mind. And one of the things he said tonight was that the vision that we have in our plan is not likely to the notion that it's very difficult, it's not likely to happen, and not a very positive notion that we're going to get what we actually want. But then his concluding statement was that's just not what our experience as I can't remember exactly what he said, as suburban retail complexes. That's what they view this as. This is a retail strip complex. It's not a site for our master plan. That's not what they're viewing it as. Their applicant is not viewing it as a site for our master plan. They disagree with our master plan. They might think it's nice, but they don't think that that is an extension of downtown. They think that is a commercial strip development. And that's why they told us several meetings ago that 24 feet is a one-story building. That is a suburban commercial strip building. Go out on Loudoun Road, I'm sure you can find very many 24-foot-high single-story buildings or higher. But you go downtown, you go downtown Concord, there's not, when you get up to 24 feet, you're at the top of the second floor. You don't, Concord has 4-story buildings, they're not 100 feet high,
it's 8 to 12 feet is a story. It's not 24 feet to the top of a first story in an urban environment. So I'm not saying I disagree that anything could go there, but the mindset is dramatically different to say that the 24 feet is one story. They're allowed to go up 24 feet and one story. Rewrite the lease to say 24 feet and 2 stories. Because 24 feet's 24 feet. Why do they care if it's 1 story or 2 story? Because you could do that. We have a vast need for housing in Concord. I mean, to say that we can't build something multi-story, I mean, I don't know the finances of all of it, but they do not do residential. You know, to partner with a residential developer, I'm sure there's residential developers who would be salivating over this property to put some, you know, multi-story, high-end residential there. Like, we need residential in all demographics. I can't believe there's no market for something like that. So, I mean, yes, there's a lot of complex factors, but you're also hearing a version of reality from a very specific type of developer that is not compatible with what we're trying to envision for downtown.
Hang on a second. I'm sorry. I cut David off.
No.
I cut David off from a sec. You were in the middle of a point.
Well, my point was that the middle pad, which is, at this point, we have their vision based on that. And I didn't disagree that that was attractive to me when I first saw the first of the plans. However, that isn't cast yet. And so the point being that what we might face going forward is that the 110 Grill gets their back, the door never happens on Store Street, and we drop that part of our demand. And the middle pad becomes, the argument becomes, the 110 Grill was allowed to do
Sure,
it.
yeah.
Why can't I?
Yep.
And now we're in this slow slide of basically giving up on the specifics of what we thought the master plan and its connection to Main Street should look like. That's my point.
Just for Heather, the point of someone looking at that as a residential place, the fact of the matter is, these folks own that land.
Yeah.
Right? So, at the end of the day, they get to apply for whatever they want to build on it.
And not build whatever they don't want.
And build, and not build, right.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to make sure that, you know, if this body thinks that somehow if we wait, we're gonna have residential quarters down there in 2 stories until they decide to sell it.
No, it could never happen.
Well, I'm just disputing the notion that our master plan, our visions are unattainable, and that nothing like that is likely to happen there.
Suzanne?
Well, and I think that this is the opportunity to start with the tone of what the vision stands for. And we will never be successful as a community if we, at the get-go, make all these compromises that don't address what the vision is. And I think a lot of people in the community also feel that way, because we were in the trenches for all the years going, and there was a lot of community involvement. And so I totally agree with what you're saying, and I agree with what Mr. Tuff said. And I think that we should kind of look at.
Can you stand back, please?
In the future.
Just stand back. I'll let you talk. I just don't want you up there, okay?
I just think that we have to, at this juncture, be very thoughtful about our master plan.
Yeah.
And we don't want to
Well, I think
wash our
I
hands of it
think
at the
one of the
beginning.
things too, and again, development is development is development, and depending on what town you go in what city you go in, the master plans are treated a little differently. And in the city of Concord, the master plan is not just a guiding document. It's part of the zoning. It's part of the rule of law. I mean, it's something that we need to look at, and we can weigh and move against it. So it's a different animal in different towns, but it is part of our guiding and not just a guiding document, but actually a document we look to and lean on if we need to. So any other questions, comments? So I do want to open back up. It's a little unusual, but I will open up the public hearing and let you come back up I don't think we've seen you before, so if you could just state your name for the record and...
My name is Mark Newman. I'm with Brixmore Property Group. I'm with the shopping center owner. And I will confess that I'm not as intimately familiar with your master plan and am new to working on this project and working with Ruben on this. And I just wanted to explain a couple things to you. First of all, I don't think that as a shopping center owner, we have a disregard for master plans at all. I think that we want to be very mindful of master plans. It sounds to me like the plan that was presented to you in its entirety achieved a lot of the visions of your master plan. I think you guys are zeroing in on one aspect of it and not looking at it in its entirety. And it sounds to me like there's improvements that are being made that actually achieve a lot of your vision. And what happens with master plans sometimes is the character of a shopping center, the parking lot, the anchor stores, we're duty bound, we're legally bound by those anchor stores to not do certain things. We're not allowed to do certain things because of the terms of the legal documents that we've entered into with them. So to some degree, the master plan runs into what is the master plan for the shopping center that was put into place ages ago by the anchor stores and the rights that they have in those leases. So we're always in this position of trying to take a center like this and push it forward to achieve your vision while still adhering to the legal requirements that we have to the grocery store, to Burlington Coat Factory, to all the anchor stores that are there. The retailers that we're working with still see a shopping center with a parking field, and they love the parking field. They love the proximity to downtown, and I think what we're trying to create here is something that if you look at it in its entirety, not just the one restaurant, but if you look at all three buildings together and look at what we've tried to do, I think that it goes towards your vision. I think that there's a lot of elements of the project. If you look at before and after is better. After it gets closer to your vision. And sounds like you're gonna throw this project away because one piece of it doesn't hit that. And I think that that would be unfair.
Okay. I do have a question, since you brought up leases, and I went back through and looked at some of the minutes and some of the things way back to the November meeting, and it was mentioned in the meeting that you had leases in various lengths for those tenants out to 2035, and I think there was a request made to get some of the terms, or not the lease docs and see all the raw data and how much they're paying in square footage, but how long are you locked up on those individual spots?
So I can testify back to that.
And it's a little lesson in our business, but yeah,
Sure.
happy to.
Sure. So yeah, there was a request. Obviously, those are confidential documents between the parties and the lessor and the lessee. So I did state them. We can talk to our legal counsel to see if we can redact and show the terms. But yeah, there are leases probably close to, if not more, past 2035.
Okay. In the development.
Right, so what I say to municipalities, because we've come across this before, is that this really is a partnership. You have to work with us and understand that we're duty bound by the character of this center, by the commitment that we've made to these anchor stores, and frankly, they've got rights.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I don't disagree with you.
Right.
So Ruben, right?
Yes.
So Ruben made a comment that it's a non-starter with the 110 grill. Is the project dead if we say we want that entrance on Store Street and we want to listen to what ADR is telling us and we want to listen to the master plan?
If 110 Grill has said, which I understand they have, that this is a non-starter for them, at this location, with this layout, and with these market dynamics, that putting a storefront, they're putting a door in the front, if that's a non-starter for them, I will tell you that the overall pro forma of our project is one such that this is really a component of it. It really,
It's not dead, but it's not great.
I'll elaborate on that, and I appreciate the notion, because I've been hearing a lot of the back and forth between, and I think it's really coming down to their door location, which has been, and I think you, Chairman, asked it, and it kind of a little bit contradictory to what other people are saying up on the dais, is if we got the door, is this project approvable? And I'm not sure. If the board finds us favorable and puts it a condition that the door has to be on 110 Grill, the door has to be on Store Street for 110 Grill, I don't know. We can go back to the tenant and say, this is what we got approved. Are you willing to come to Concord with this approval? From what they've told us to date over the last year that we've been in this process, it is a non-starter, but we'll see how dire need they want to be here.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Matt.
So this is perplexing to me, because I think that 110 Grill, and people are excited about this particular restaurant coming to Concord. They're not paying attention to the master plan in a lot of cases, and what our duty is to the master plan. 110 Grill is going to make a lot of money coming to Concord.
Why can't?
It's going to make 110 Grill is likely going to make a lot of money coming to the city of Concord. People are going to be excited about this restaurant. So I just don't. I'm perplexed. I just don't like. I know you. It's a burden on you because you have to do what you have to do. But it's pretty clear to us that we don't want to orient our buildings on Store Street to the parking lot and create a neighborhood feel in the parking lot. We want to create the neighborhood feel on Store Street. So this is bigger than 110 Grill. This is about our city.
Yeah, and I think Mark,
not what we like, but what we want from the master plan.
And I think Mark eloquently said that is, it's the three pieces make the whole, right? So the activation that we've done along Store Street, by the patios, by the winding sidewalks, by the landscaping, by the little pocket parks, achieve that, right? And if one little element is missing, I just hate to see that we lose the entire project for that one element when we have a patio that's going to be active. When someone comes down that Pleasant Street extension, you're going to see that activation on the patio, and people coming in through that side door, and people working, and people sitting there. So to me, I hear you. It's in the master plan. I think the front door is not a huge issue, and I get that you're trying to achieve an urban environment. No disrespect to the city in Concord. People are still driving in Concord, and they're still going to be driving to our parking lot.
And they're driving north and south on Store Street. I mean, that's the, they're not driving down Pleasant Street. I mean, the number of cars coming down over the hill on Pleasant Street is just far, far, far lower than they're going.
But they're still going to be having to pull into our shopping center
or
and
go
park.
to the parking garage across the street.
They could.
Let's not forget the number of pedestrians.
Sorry. Hang on, Heather, one sec. That was Matt, right? Matt, you all set?
I'm okay.
And David?
Two points I want to make. One, I think it's kind of a sad statement that a potential tenant is dictating our master plan and your development.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one point I want to, the point is where the front door is, the tenant is really calling the shots here for all of us, you and us. And I don't think that that's appropriate in any way. The second point I want to make is that if you turn the windows and put them on the park, and if you just rotate that building, I don't think Market Basket or the liquor store or any of those stores is going to care whether they're looking at windows or whether they're looking at the front door.
I agree on that second point. And again, it's not back to those tenants. The statement on those tenants is they have long-term leases and they have view corridors and they have different height restrictions.
They would care if the front door didn't face them?
No. I think this is something that from an operational standpoint, 110 Grill, who operates many restaurants, and they laid out the insides of this restaurant and the way it relates to the parking field, feels that they're going to make the most money in operational with the door there. Again, the board can do what they want.
Absolutely.
And if you do find that as a condition as favorable, that they have to put their front door there, we're going to go back to them and see. And if they can't meet that, then we don't have a site plan approval.
I think you're then going to, at that point, get a lot more favorability from this organization, right?
Correct. And I think the chairman said it in the last meeting, I don't want to go back and forth anymore. So we just got to put the line and say.
We don't either.
Right. So again, if it's either, what I'm seeing here, it's probably either a denial based on the front door, which is one piece of the element of a total project that I think is really great for this location, or perhaps there's a condition that's put on us, and we can go back to the tenant and see what happens.
Heather?
I just wanted to follow up with, I don't think it's disrespectful to the City of Concord to say that people drive here. We have never suggested or insisted that the door should be there because your clients, the customers, are going to be walking. That is not why we're insisting on it. 90% of the people that come to Concord, downtown Concord, Main Street, drive here. they're all driving here. They're driving here, they're parking in your parking lot, and then they're walking elsewhere.
We know that.
So the notion
Because it's free. I've done it.
I've done it. So the notion that they are not going to park there and walk around to the building, to the activated street, just seems crazy to us. We know they're going to drive there. We know they're going to park there. It's just that our concern is not how far does the customer have to go from their parking space to their front door. To us, it is not a commercial strip retail site. To us, it is the first step of Store Street development. And we're more concerned with what people, like Mr. Tuff said, what people are seeing and experiencing and perceiving when they walk down Pleasant Street. We know they're gonna drive. You know, I live 5 blocks away. I'll probably drive sometimes. But when I drive, I have a son who does not like to walk. I'm trying, I'm working on him. We got scooters, we got bikes, anyway. So
And we got the bike rack.
yeah, when I drive there, I want to park in the wherever I can park, if you still got parking at that point, and I want to come around to the street, and I want to see people at Cheers, and I want to see what's going on the street. You know, I don't want to walk, I don't want to look at Marshalls and then walk into the store. My son is 9 years old. He does not know what I do for a living. He has no idea. We were at what's the new one Steve Dupree did out with the Holiday Inn, the T-Bone Steakhouse. We went to T-Bone Steakhouse not too long ago, and my son goes, you know, I really love the food here, but I don't like this place. I don't like coming here. It's not nice. There's no, like, he literally, in a 9-year-old's vocabulary, explained an urban streetscape and why he never wants to go to T-Bone's anymore, because it's not there. And that's the same thing that this 110 Grill guy is trying to create, is the T-Bone's experience. You park, you walk in the door. People don't want that. They really don't. People who come to downtown Concord don't want that. They want Main Street. They would love for Store Street to be like Main Street, you know, and they're driving.
Hear you. Okay. Anybody else? Good, thank you. Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
Thanks
And
for letting me speak.
yes, thank you. Thanks very much. And sorry to push you back like that and wave at you like. Okay, so, and again, I think Ruben hit it on the head. I think there's 2 decisions before us. You look at it and say, okay, where do we go from here? Do we look at it from a denial perspective and say that we don't have support based on the plan that's there? And is there support to do it as the other side, where we spin the restaurant around and show it on Store Street? So,
Because there's been so much back and forth, I think the better approach would be to just make a decision. And then,
well, I want to make a decision.
Not keep.
No, I definitely want to make a decision. We're not leaving here until we make a decision, so.
I think we should condition it.
But not a
What's
condition.
that? Yeah.
I think we should condition it.
Yeah, if there's,
Oh, no, that's
I
not
want to
what I
just,
said.
I don't want to pull
was
the
kind of
audience.
the opposite.
So I'm going to take it in 2 steps. I'm going to look at it and say, is there anyone who wants to make a motion to approve the plan as submitted as it is now? If not, I'm willing to look at a condition, Matt, and get ready to take some notes, Lisa. And I think we'll probably have some discussion around it, but
So, I mean, if you do a condition, what about like,
we still have to look at details. We still lighting plans and sign packages and things like that, but they're looking at getting in the ground and figuring out how to do the development. And if we can condition them to say, conditionally, we approve this in concept in the following, Matt's going to eloquently put it, in the following way, we're going to expect them to come back for other issues, so.
I was looking at you to come up with
Oh, good.
the language.
I'm happy to make a motion.
Certainly.
I'm not happy to make a motion, but I'm happy to give it an attempt. Well, I said a lot how I felt about this before, and I think we've heard a lot about it at the table. And Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm willing to make the motion to, at this time, deny ADR approval.
Okay.
Is that the right way to say it?
If that's what you want to do,
That's
then
what I want
yes.
to, yes, I want to be able to say that we've had the discussion on the entrance. We seem to get hung up on whether the door be on the front and the back. I don't care how many doors there are in the building. I just think there should be stores. according to
Primary.
our primary
functional
door,
door.
a functional
Primary
door.
functional door.
It's consistent with what we have to do as part of the zoning ordinances and market plan. So I will make the motion that we deny ADR approval.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Hang on, Matt, I'll get to you for discussion.
Yep, thank you.
Would someone like to second that motion?
I have to ask a question.
Yep.
So what does that actually do?
Well,
Yeah,
it's,
I think that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So if we deny architectural design review approval, they cannot get major site plan approval. You're basically denying the application. I mean, I think you could, if you want to so it depends how the board feels. I don't feel that I have a sense what the feeling of the board is, but if you want to deny the application and have it go away, it would be deny architectural design review approval. If you want to condition it on putting the door facing Store Street, you would grant ADR approval, subject to, I would say, ADR's outstanding recommendations and conclusion of ADR's outstanding comments, and that the 110 grill door be relocated to the primary functional frontage being on Store Street.
Okay,
And
that
then
makes
you would
sense.
grant approval.
But wouldn't they have to go back to ADR to see what the front door looked like?
Yeah, but they would still, that would be a condition of an approval.
Well, I'm willing, well, it wasn't seconded, so I'm willing to amend that motion.
It wasn't a motion.
It
no.
wasn't a motion.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
I can't make motions.
no, so, yes.
I could, just so we're not focusing, I think we should make the condition that each building.
Well,
has to
that was
have
gonna be,
front
that was,
door
that was on my
Store
list.
Street,
That
so
was on
we're
my
not
list.
picking on the
Yeah.
one building
Yeah,
that may change use if this tenant.
yeah, no, that was on my
doesn't
list as
want to
well.
go
There
forward
could
and
be
they
two buildings in
choose
that
to go
middle. I mean, we
another.
don't know what's gonna be built
And
there.
that kind of leads to your comment of what happens when we get the middle building and suddenly they want to do something different. So it's a
Yeah.
condition that all three must have a functional door that enters into facility on stores.
So compromises was brought up. And I think that we have all compromised going away from the design that is in the city's desire to have the multi-story building. So we've already compromised there. We've already compromised on, but city council allowing the drive-through in the parking lot. So we've made major compromises to the original intent of what we wanted on Store Street. I don't think it's a lot to ask to require as a condition the main entrances to these structures to be on Store Street. I don't think that's a big ask at all. And I want to see this project succeed. I want to see it go forward. Even though I would rather have the 2 stories in the mixed use, the residential, I'd much rather see that. But if I'm going to vote for this, I want to at least have that.
Yeah.
We've made a lot of compromises to get this to go ahead already.
Okay. What else?
Agree.
Okay. Earl?
That's fine, I just want to put it into the right words.
So are
So
we
we're talking about a
making a
conditional
recommend-
a recommendation.
We're making a recommendation to approve this, to approve as submitted with the architectural design review recommendations, which talk about the ephes, they talk about the structural things, they talk about all the pieces and parts that they need to get going on, with the condition that any development, whether it's 110 Grill or anybody else, or whether it's 1 or 2 buildings in the middle, they might end up with 2 tenants in the middle. Any doors are gonna be facing Store Street and be the primary entrance to the building.
Yes.
Is that acceptable?
So, based on, Sam, is it true that you have some printouts that you could share?
Sent it to you.
Oh, do we have a hard copy though, so we can
I
send it?
could go make some.
Well,
Right
we,
there. Just, can you
Load up
access
on
it through
the-
there? Pull it
yeah,
up?
yeah, can you do that?
Plug it into my laptop.
Okay. So we have the recommendations for approval, if that was the way the board wanted to go. We just hadn't put them in there because that wasn't what our recommendation was. So, but Sam's gonna share the recommendations to make it simpler for you for the whole entire
Okay.
project. And then we can insert the language about the condition into the motions, correct? Because I don't even know what the first motion was, if there were waivers or if there were, I don't think there were any waivers, were there? If ADR might be the first thing on the list, but we'll have Sam bring it up.
It is ADR.
Okay, and then, So I'm gonna make you say all that again, basically.
That's fine.
Okay.
You gotta do it?
That was a good start.
Yeah.
So what Sam's gonna bring up is basically a different version of the report, or?
I have the recommendation page. Are we looking at that?
No.
It's
gonna
a-
be,
yeah,
that's
it's a-
the-
It's a separate recommendation.
It's a
page,
separate
which is
recommendation
on
section that has all the recommendations for approval.
Yeah, can't see it.
We didn't know what the will of the board would be, so we didn't want to confuse the issues.
That was
Yes,
smart.
that's pretty good.
What page do you want?
He's not.
You have to look at the screen.
You don't have it in, you
Oh.
don't have it in your packet.
Oh, geez.
There we go. Grant ADR approval.
I was afraid that's what he meant.
I can read it if that's.
Yeah, please.
Is it okay for you to read it?
4.1 is grant ADR approval for the site layout and landscaping, subject to revisions to the materials and architecture of the 110 Grill, including the orientation of an entrance on Store Street, relocation of the sign on the east side of the coffee shop, wood cladding on the middle building be replaced with spandrel glass, and option A for the south elevation of the middle building be used.
So we can amend that to say, any building proposed along that frontage shall have an entrance, a functional primary entrance on Store Street.
You have to clarify that to say tenant, because if the middle building has two tenants, somebody could say,
Well, no,
well,
but if
we
he
have one
says,
door.
he's writing it now, so any building proposed along the frontage of Store Street.
Right, but you're
Shall.
still saying building.
Say
And
shall.
if the middle building could have two tenants, could you run into an issue where they put one door, and then the other tenant wants his door on the backside, because they only have to have one
Well, you
per
know,
building?
quite honestly, if maybe their tenant is back there. I mean, we have buildings
Oh,
on
you're saying
Main
it's split
Street.
the opposite way.
You know,
Yeah.
someday that could be the alley, and we might want some doors back there.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sam, is this something on the website, or is this something?
No, he's creating it right now.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I could follow along.
You could sit over there.
My eyes are good, but not that good.
Okay, so,
Grill in there?
so just for the record, so let's look at, and then 4.2 is the major site plan with the precedent conditions that are outlined. Can you just scroll down, Sam, or over to the next? I just want to see the whole thing.
And we do have this in here as well as a precedent condition. I can delete that if
No,
that's
just leave it there as well.
ADR approval.
But it should say shall.
Yeah, they did, because it's in all the application stuff, so it's not just building A, building B, building C. Okay, and what are the subsequent conditions?
There are typical subsequent conditions.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, are there
Yep.
still outstanding comments from
Yes.
staff
Yes.
that need to be addressed?
Yeah,
And-
we have
and
that
it
in
is-
there.
There's, it's in there to reckon,
All right, we
to
were scrolling and I kind of missed it. I just
yeah,
want to make sure.
To do engineering. So, Sam, from a big picture perspective, again, if we put in there some, again, this is a little unusual, but usually it's here you go, off you go, and, I mean, is there a way to get them the conditional approval, but then have them pop back in for, I mean, I'd hate to do it. I mean, again, signs, we haven't seen signs, all of that type of stuff is, where does that fall?
Signs would go through ADR. The
Okay, and then
sign
just do the
process for
normal
ADR,
package,
yeah.
okay. So we're not missing anything by doing it this way.
What do you mean, missing anything?
Well, I just want to make sure we've addressed all the issues. We get so fixated on the entrance. The landscaping comments are all there.
Well, they're gonna have to
The
return anyway with a
reviews.
phasing plan,
Right,
because
right.
only the board can
Staff can deal
approve
with
a phasing
Yeah.
plan.
Okay. Yep.
I'm just a little concerned where it says 110 Grill in 4.1, because it really has less to do with 110 Grill as a company than it does with the structure.
So we've referred to it that way, I think, going all along. I don't know if we want to change
I guess that
course.
works. He added
He
building.
just, he put in,
Building 1, building 2, building 3, I don't know.
He added one,
that-
yeah.
I just added building to
Yeah, so
110
so
grill.
it's identified as that building,
Okay,
the 110
110
grill.
building grill.
Because if
So if someone
something
else-
happens, it may be a different
Might
restaurant.
be,
But it's still that building that's
It's still that
identified.
building,
Yeah, I think that,
might be T-bones after your negative comments about it.
he loves
Tom
T-bones.
Boucher's gonna
He
be so
loves,
upset.
he loves T-bones.
radio on, I see your son's bed.
Okay, so.
I can tell you stories. I can tell you some stories.
So, before us is a recommendation on the screen here, right? Are we all, we've got the waiver, I think, one of the grant ADR approval. So Sam read it into record, and again, we added that line at the end, any building proposed along the frontage of Store Street shall have a main entrance facing Store Street.
Chair, I would
Yep.
just ask that the comments that I mentioned about the signals, the crosswalk, and the
Yep.
that either needs to get into staff comments or somehow in here to make sure
Yep, so we'll
those
make-
things are officially addressed.
We'll make sure that those are part of the
He's
minutes.
doing it
and-
right now.
Oh, Chris made a comment regarding the crosswalk being moved up, a higher spot.
That's actually in staff
there, okay.
recommendations as well. But I guess these signal-related ADA safety at the intersection
Yep,
may or not be all fully encapsulated in the staff
Okay.
comments, so I want to make sure that those are captured appropriately. Shall meet MUTCD and ADA requirements, if you're trying to think of a way to phrase it.
That was specific to the
That
push
Push
button.
button, the crosswalk, and
MUTCD.
the ramps themselves on the northeast
Planning
corner,
jargon
there's
now.
also an issue
It's
with
an
the ramp.
additional push button.
Yes, because they can't, they're supposed to be
Yeah.
located within 10 feet of
Hey,
the
Ruben?
intersection of the curb.
We can have Sam print you this when
Grade of the
when
ramp.
he's done,
Grade of the
Is
ramp
that
on the
acceptable?
northeast side
or email it to
doesn't
him.
have the detectable warning.
We don't have a print, he's got, so we'll make sure you get this copy,
Okay.
given
And
that
so
it,
it needs that, and
if
then
it,
there's
if
a
it goes
push button
through,
on the
I don't
additional
know,
push button on the southeast.
at this point.
Is that good?
I know Gary knows what I'm talking about, he's shaking his
Warms my
head.
heart to hear it. Yes.
I just want to make sure it's captured, because I don't know, like I say, if it's fully in the comments.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
vague.
So
Yeah, I know
it's
it.
the
You got a
grade and the
Get a typo.
detectable warning panel on the northeast side is what's missing.
Shall meet the MUTC.
Our existing comment's a little vague, so it's probably better
Yeah.
to,
There you go.
we talked about pedestrian layout, it'd probably better specify, as you
Right.
said.
We good?
I don't know. Is that good, Chuck?
Just, we were saying the grade and the detectable warning panel are the two issues on the southeast corner, northeast corner, excuse me.
I think Sam's feeling the pressure.
Yeah, he's good.
Look for this.
Thank you.
Okay, so scroll back up if you can, Sam. So we good with 4.1? Do we need to clarify that at all?
So all be available on the website,
Oh,
will
Yeah.
they not?
Yeah.
For those keeping score at home?
Okay.
When the minutes are done.
So again, would someone like to make a motion to grant ADR approval for, as outlined in 4.1, for the project before us?
So moved.
Second.
David's made a motion, seconded by Matt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Hello.
Hello. Okay,
I don't have Suzanne voting.
and then,
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
and then 4.2 is to grant major site plan approval for the proposed development of the 3 new commercial buildings at 80 Store Street, subject to the following precedent and subsequent conditions outlined below, and those precedent and subsequent conditions have been modified and will be made part of the record as soon as we vote. If someone like to make a motion to scroll back up, Sam, to grant that major site plan approval with precedent conditions 1 through 6 and subsequent conditions 1, 2, and 3.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, so that's it. So, again, thank you, gentlemen, and everyone that's been involved in this project for lots of back and forth, and truly do hope that the project goes through.
I agree.
I know we disagreed on some points, and you guys handled it well, and we hopefully handled it somewhat well. So, thank you very much, and have a good night. Okay, appreciate it. All right, let's see what we got.
We're seeing a lot more of Mark as well.
Okay, good. We look forward to Mark.
Please.
I'll stay back there.
Just to be sure.
Rich,
What's
I think we need to make a motion on 8E for the board to postpone the meeting, and we didn't do that.
Okay, on
Continuance?
TF Moran? Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got a motion, we need to make a motion for the project that's outlined in 8E.
Continue to the,
To continue that to the July
21?
21 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, and then item 9 on our agenda is a planning board recommendation to city council on the tax deeded properties. Could we get a quick staff report on that?
yeah, so every year, properties that are taken for taxes, the board is tasked per ordinance with making a recommendation to council. It's quite an actually involved process. We're supposed to check with all the departments, check with the school system, check with everybody and their brother of any municipal persuasion to see if there's any reason to keep the property for a public purpose. It's gone through that process. It's 3 Amy Way, which is simply a single-family residence in the Sandwood Crossing development, and 68 Washington Street, which is also a single-family home on Washington Street, kind of close to the university. So the board simply needs to, unless the board can think of any reason why the city shouldn't put these up for auction, to put them back in the tax rolls, to just make a recommendation to council, or to approve to agree, approve, make a recommendation. Council's already kind of said, if planning board's okay with it, it goes on auction, and it will go on auction in a few weeks if the board is a positive
So
recommendation.
before us, we've got a recommendation to determine that there's no public purpose to retaining either property, and advise city council that the property should be offered for sale and returned to the tax base. And again, those are the 2 properties outlined by Heather at 3 Amy Way and 68 Washington Street. Someone like to make a motion to recommend to council that they return those properties to the tax roll?
So moved.
Absolutely, so moved. Get them back on the tax
Second.
rolls.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
People want houses.
So people do want houses. Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Any other items which legally come before the board tonight? Staff, anything that we need to know about?
No, I would love to give you an update on the form-based code, but I think everybody's tired, so let's put that off to a shorter meeting.
No, I'm gonna recommend we don't do that tonight. So we will accept a motion to adjourn if someone would like to make that. David has been roundly made that.
Second.
And Earl Pierce has seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, everyone, and appreciate that
Can
project.
you ask these folks?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm concerned about, on the agenda, I saw about Langdon Avenue.
Yeah, Langdon Avenue well, that was right at the beginning of our agenda, and that was a determination of completeness component. To get a project through in the city, there's 2 steps that need to happen. They need to bring the plan forward to this planning staff. The planning staff reviews it and says, yes, everything looks good, everything's here, everything's right. That means it's complete. We recognize that it's complete, and we put it on the public agenda for next month. So I apologize if you were here for that whole time for that. Nothing was approved, and you'll have a chance to speak to it positively or negatively at the next planning board agenda.
Could I just interject something?
Sure.
As I have been, first of all, my name is Corinne.
It's not a public hearing.
I'm a resident of Concord all my life.
Yeah.
So, and I have lived on South Main Street all my life. My dad owned a business, so is Auto Body, just over the gold line. So I feel very, very connected. And I want to make sitting here was such an eye-opener for me as a taxpayer and as a lifelong resident that I was really worried, but after seeing the balance.
Seeing the amount of detail and the amount of work we put into every project, right?
Seriously, Suzanne, I have to applaud you. Nothing's going to get by this council. I mean, your dedication to, I you nailed it when you did, if you were a part of the renovation on Main Street. And
We'll take all the credit for that, even though we don't deserve it.
but I have a scrapbook back when, oh gosh, I lose track of time, but when they want to put a super shot and strip mall in the same location
Yeah.
as where, I didn't think there'd be room for my partner and I to sit here because there was only standing.
Yeah, well, hopefully there's some people here for next month's. You know, we can't take any public testimony as far as tonight's meeting, so all your nice comments don't go on the record, and nobody's gonna hear them. So I truly invite you to come back for next month's meeting.
I have a scrapbook.
Yeah.
The Concord Monitor, I mean, it was in the front page of the newspaper about the conservationist impact. And on South Main Street where I live, it says that I and my next door neighbor, who happens to be my sister-in-law, were a high impact.
Oh, yeah.
And 192 multi-family dwelling. And I agree, we need to do something with that corridor.
Yeah.
But 192.
It's a lot.
If they have partners or if they're married,
Yeah.
that's a little under 400 going to work every single morning.
Yeah.
And if they have children, I just retired after 35 years of teaching in Nashville. And Concord has drawn, we're a destination because of the work that has been done.
Yeah.
And I know, when they did this study, the traffic study, they said there was gonna be 500 more cars an hour.
Yeah, morning and night.
But what's it gonna be with 192? And what about drain on,
Yeah.
and what about,
Well, come and ask those questions next month. You'll be on the record and we'll be able to listen to them.
if someone said I'd be in front of that one of those microphones, I'd say it would never happen.
It's
You
simple.
can write a letter, and we will make it part of the record, and we can send that to the board members. So that's a totally acceptable way to communicate
Yeah.
your concerns.
More outspoken than she is.
We'll get you up here.
You can type in all caps.
And I can tell you and all the members of the board, the traffic on that street
It's
right
gonna
now,
be an issue, yeah.
it's
You guys aren't allowed to.
taking the place of the speedway up on 106. You have motorcycles going up and down just as fast as they can go.
Yeah.
And to put 200 more cars on that street is